Okay, I'm going to jump into mine real quick. First, I wanted to thank all of you guys for coming today. And what kind of started this, if everyone has this future of hunting, fishing in Hawaii, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. I could, but you guys can do it. And but basically what started this was our legislative efforts this year. We had tremendous support, and some things in the legislature happened. Some of us had the feeling that we were kind of deemed irrelevant this year, despite having hundreds of people give testimony and everything. And with talking with other supporters from fishing and farming who had the same problems that we're having at the legislature, we decided to come together to form an organization that way. And this commission is limited to what we can do, and I wanted to just encourage that we need some support structure for this commission. And part of those things is being able to get the word out better, faster, quicker, maybe some fundraising stuff for the organization so that we can rally to send people up to the legislature to accompany us, but with their own private organization. If we want to move forward, read this good, because there's a lot of subtleties in here, but if we want to continue the future of outdoor recreation, we're going to have to come together. We've talked about this for several years now. It's very difficult with a limited amount of people, and what we feel is we got support now from outer island groups, but everybody's issues is slightly different. So kind of having this association of hunting and fishermen and farming can kind of help, so that, if they need help with testimony on something or we need help, we can kind of have more people to have a pool from. But I think locally here for us, some of the things that we could do, like I suggest on the bottom, is volunteers for like subcommittee stuff. And this is stuff that I can meet with you guys outside of this meeting. But I just wanted to take advantage of the opportunity here to bring this up. And I know I talked with some of you like Don and stuff like that I know you guys are willing to help, but we need a mechanism and we need some organization to do some of these things. And I think that's the only way our voice is really going to be heard. What bothered me this legislative session is that you have like the Nature Conservancy, where you just have one person there at the legislature, and when he speaks, he's speaking for 10,000 people. So he's the only one there. They don't have to get anybody else. And I started thinking, well, why? We have a game commission, Tom and myself and Mark and so forth. We fly down and we give testimony. And yet it's like we represent our island. We represent thousands of people. But we have to go out and we have to hustle and get 230 individuals to give testimony. And yet it's still like not enough. So I said, why are we having to get hundreds of people doing individual testimony when the Nature Conservancy can just have one guy? And they fall back and they read their testimony and they make their determinations off of that. They don't look at the hundreds of people that we send in. And why do we have to have hundreds of people if our commission here or our club or group represents hundreds or thousands of people also? So I think it's a matter of they don't think that we're credible or whatever it may be at the legislature. Somehow every time we go there, I come back with, oh, you guys got to get better organized, more organized, better organized. I'm like, why? We're delivering our message when we go there. So I don't know if it's just, like I said, we're irrelevant and they're just humoring us. And I've been struggling with this for the past month since what happened this legislative session, where we had a really good bill, lots of support, and it just didn't pick up in the House floor. The Senate refused to even hear it to begin with. And I guess that's what bothered us, is that, at least give us the opportunity for the debate to make our point, and maybe you might understand our views and what we're talking about. We go there, like I always said, we're being responsible and respectable and facts. And yet, if they don't give you the time to even listen to you, how do you get any of that message across? So I think that's where we have to try to come together and do these things like fundraise and outreach, educate, and then promote. our organizations so that we are a force, and then maybe we might have better opportunity, because a lot of this stuff is at a state level, and a lot of it is at the legislature because the funding and the monies that's going for all like the watershed protections and this and that, which some of us don't oppose, but it's why isn't a hunting program or game management part of that? Why is a game commission, they say DLNR, we don't have money or we don't have resources, personnel. Well, wouldn't a game commission help? I guess we're an obstruction to the direction that the department and U.S. Fish and Wildlife and so forth is going, and we all know that. So I guess with that, just read here. This is some of the things that we hope to achieve. We already got Hawaii Sportsman Alliance going, so if you guys have a Facebook account or create one, it's real easy. I only did it 6 months ago myself, believe it or not. So, but it's really easy. And then with that, you can tag a lot of these different organizations. And a lot of you guys are on there already. So, and it's good. It's not just business. We share a whole bunch of other fun things too, and some heated discussions once in a while. But I think that's the first start. If you can encourage your family or friends or whatever, give the links to other people to get on there, kind of see what's going on. Ryan Kohatsu is kind of in charge of the Hawaii Sportsmen's Alliance right now. And then the Hunting, Farming, and Fishing Association is Makani Christensen. And there's several people from the farming and fishing communities. And I have it on there. We're looking for one more director from the island of Kauai. And I think basically everybody's the same. Like the mission, is to protect, promote the freedom to hunt, farm, and fish in Hawaii through education, collaboration, and advocacy. So I think this is good because a lot of these people are on Oahu, and for us that helps a lot because we got to fly there, and every time we fly there, you're looking at $300 a pop. And it's a last minute and everything. So if we got a group, and things come up and we can't make it, they can go and represent for us. And what we do is they may not know specifically the hunting issue, but we send them a fact sheet with some information just so they know. And you have a person that can sit there. Because without a person sitting in front of the legislature or that committee, next.
Yeah, you're not there.
You're not there. We're not there. So, I know a lot in the hunting community, people are kind of disheartened right now or thinking we're not getting anywhere and all that, but it really requires a tremendous amount of work, more than just, getting on Steve's case or Lisa's case and grumbling and things like that. We have to be a little more proactive, kind of from the top down, get in with our legislatures and things like that to make some policy changes that can help us all. So that's it. Any discussions or anybody wants to discuss any of that?
I do have a question for you, or actually not a question, if you don't mind.
Okay. I got a note from Carrie? Terry?
Carrie.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah, we didn't do a testimony yet, so Terry wants to submit testimony. Okay, with that, yes, come in. Thank you. So, Terri Napeahi.
I just have a few questions, Tony, in regards to
your microphone and your name.
There you go.
Terri Napeahi. I just had a real quick question in regards to the initiative that you're having with the Hunting, Farming, and Fishing Association. How are you going to be connecting with our county, our home rule ideal, and keep everyone here as hunters, fishermen, on this island particularly, informed?
Yeah, I think a part of it is first is the structure that they're developing the organization, and then it has a board and everything, so it's going to be an official entity. And then at that point, it was talked that we would have committees on each island, and at that point, then it would be the committee would actually be doing the work.
So you're going to be like an advisory group to who?
No, nothing to do with the commission or anything like that. This is a total separate entity, and that
an initiation to lobby at legislative level?
Well, not necessarily a lobby. I don't know if that's part, it depends what nonprofit organization you go under.
Depends on the form.
Yeah, you have to be specific.
C3, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The 503C is no lobbying. I think a 6 you can,
Right.
and so forth, so.
Well, my concern is because of the fact that when you're using the hunting, the fishing, and the farming identity, you're actually incorporating a voice. Am I correct? Is this statewide?
Yes.
Hopefully.
So that association is going to be the voice for all the hunters and fishermen and farmers statewide. So decision-making politically for farmers, hunting, and fishing is a collaboration of everybody coming together as one voice. Am I correct?
I think so. It's difficult because of specific issues that the small farmer may have, or the fisherman or the hunter. So, there's definitely a challenging part. It's the same thing like our commission here, I guess, when we have to address the various issues and who has expertise in what or whatever. At that point, I think you try to bring in people in that specific area, if it's a fishery issue or just, throw net, lay net, whatever the problem is, aquarium fish problems, whatever it may be, whatever bills that come through that can help organizations. I think that's in that form. It's not necessarily that it would be lobbying, but it would be to join in testimony, to have people there to represent.
So
Much like these other coalitions that are all forming now, the anti-GMO, so forth, and everything like that, SHAKA movements and things like that. There's a lot of movements and organizations that are out there that are doing similar work, and we have nothing to protect our interests.
Okay. So my concern is just the efforts home rule. I'm a total believer of home rule only because the issues that come with Hawaii Island might be completely different to what's happening on Maui and Kauai. And there was an issue that was brought to my concern in that regards of what was happening county level on Kauai that had affected some of the hunters here. And it brought to my attention what was happening on Kauai. So friends that we had on Kauai let me know. They attended the meeting so that they could let us on the Big Island know what was going on, because the hunters here were worried about how it was going to, the ideas that they had on that particular island might trickle down over here and put in the heads of the people here. And it had a lot to do with the issue of no burn, the smokehouse, and so it was brought to my attention that it was also a group that was concerned about what was going on. It was a personal issue, but it was still affecting what was happening on the Big Island. And so my concern is that how do you keep everybody entirely aware of what's going on, and keep what issues we have on our island in solidarity, is what I'm saying.
Can I address that for a second?
Go ahead.
I think that the purpose of this association, this alliance, association in this particular case, is to create unity throughout the entire state. We don't have that right now. We have interests here, interests on Kauai, like you just mentioned. We don't know what's going on in Kauai until somebody shares that with you, right? With this, the intention with this association is to have councils on each island. And those councils are meant to distribute and to pass on information to the main organization itself. That's one way that we can get our voice spread throughout the island, where you have this unity. The other thing that Tony brings up is they're talking about finding ways to fundraise. And we need that. We need to have money in these organizations in order to educate. We need to educate not only our hunters, we need to educate the public what's going on. They have no idea. These million people on Oahu, right? They call them streetwalkers because they never get off the street. Those people have not been in the forest. They have no idea, but they sign on to everything that's said about what goes on in the forest by other entities. Like he says, one person can influence 1 million people.
Tom, you said something that caught my ear, and that was unity and solidarity statewide. When we don't even have our county in solidarity and unity, is my concern. And that's what I want to remind the commission, that we, in my perspective, if you're going to Oahu, you're going to give Oahu-centric that opportunity to have that voice. And forget about what we have here in need of solidarity and unity. And that's just my concern. And I think that's all I need to say.
And that's valid questions. I think part of like trying to do a state game commission and why these things came up is when we went to all the other counties, which we got support, but the initial, like Kauai, for example, where they have that Kalawak, it's an ALOAC, and I forget what the acronym is. This is actually a state council. Okay, it's been in the books, and they've been active on Kauai. Every island or every county has this. We tried to get one here several years back,
I remember.
and the aquatics didn't want it, so everybody lost out. Kauai has theirs. When I contacted DOFAR on Kauai to see if they would support our State Game Commission bill, they said, they're working with the Kalawak, so I called this Kalawak, and I asked them, if they would support and all that, and, we don't need that. We're perfectly fine here. We got our own things going on over here. And then I started thinking, well, wait a minute. Well, let me see your guys' agenda and your minutes. You're a state council. Go look for it. So we have things that are going on already as it is, and people protecting their own little interests. They got access to go hunt in there. They got their club or their group that can go in there. So this is the fraction that is created with all of our communities. They try to do that. The pig hunters, or the bird hunters, or the sheep hunters. I just got text today from somebody that it made me want to not even come tonight. From a pig hunting group of people. And why? Why are we suddenly the enemies? We're all the users and the resource people. Why are we not trying to form ways to be together? Instead, we're getting our heads cut off for every little thing that we try to do.
I totally agree with you in unity and solidarity. Unification is important. I'm just wanting to make sure that the home rule idea is not left out. And the traditions. That's the other question. I don't see that in there. Is there a reason?
I have no idea.
You're not excluded.
Just checking.
You're not excluded whatsoever. I talked to Makani about this. Tony's more involved in this than I am, but I did have a long conversation with him, as to how that organization can help. And I see it from this commission here being very helpful to us.
Makani.
Well, he's the gentleman that helped start this organization.
Right. So he's going to be the traditional voice.
He saw a need. He's a fisherman. And they have their own
That's not answering
issues.
my question, Tom.
Sorry?
That's not answering
What
my
was your
question.
question?
My question is your traditional representation?
I don't know who you're having as traditional representation.
I don't know. That's
You're not being excluded.
it's a private group right now. I mean, we're not excluded anyone.
No, I didn't say that. I just wanted to know if that was there.
That's one question. I know what she's asking, and I think anybody can join this association.
Yeah.
And anybody can put the input.
The whole point of this
Even-
organization
It says even farmers.
that I see is we need to have some source, some means of showing a number. because when you go, when you get to the legislature, and here comes this Tony and Tom and Mark and Ryan and the guys from Kauai and Oahu, they're representing all of us, but yet in the eyes of the legislature, they're individuals. They are 4, 5, 6, 20 people. Now, when the Nature Conservancy writes in their letter, if you read the testimony, we are representing 10,000 people, 20,000 people here. For some reason, they have, I mean, just if you go and look at the testimony that was sent in for our game commission, I mean, they put it on the news. It was that many people that supported this game commission. If you go on the written testimony and you read through all of that, there was maybe 5 or 6 letters in there that were opposing, and there was hundreds of letters of support. That 5 or 6 was the DLNR, the Nature Conservancy, Earth Justice, what's the other, all the environmental people. So how does that 5 people, and then when we go to the next committee and ask the next committee to please put it on the agenda so we can at least get our voice heard, they can tell Tony that it's too controversial because he read through the first 2 testimony, which is DLNR and Nature Conservancy. Well, Nature Conservancy was even way on the bottom even, and say it's too controversial. But yet, if they put something out there and we send in 600 people opposing it, that's not too controversial. So the whole point of getting organized is just that, is just to have us a voice. Because right now we have no voice in the eyes of the legislature.
Have a voice.
Yeah, we do, but they're not listening to it.
It's almost
And-
comical.
And if you think that's different, then by all means, please go and testify so you can see for yourself. Because it's a joke.
I've been in legislation. I
know you have
understand.
been. No,
I understand
I'm
what
not
you're talking about.
Arguing with you. I'm just trying to explain that it's not about, about the commission or anything. It's
No, I
not
totally
about-
commend you for doing that. I just would hope.
We got to show some numbers.
Yeah, I just would hope that you would inform the rest of the people here, because there's a lot of information that is not being put out to a lot of people. And how I know this is because they call me, and that's the reason I'm here today. And so I commend you for your work. I appreciate you, trying to put everybody together, but just remember the traditions is one, and home rule. And that's the reason I'm here today. Thank you for your time.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. One of the things that I just like to mention is that I know you're on Facebook now too. You're part of this. Like Tony and I are just brand new to this experience of communication. But that is the future. This idea of going to one by one is not working out very well. But, a Facebook page, a website, these kind of things that people can participate with is how a lot of the stuff you heard tonight. Earlier on, he wants to do this survey online, for example. It's just that much more that you can get people out. On my Facebook page, for example, somehow, I don't even know what it means, but we actually touched 1,385 people last week with this commission that we're talking about, with this alliance. So
Sportsman
people
Alliance.
are interested in this. And I think Tony is right, and Makani, who created him and Tony and Ryan and from this island, it's something that's needed. We need the money too. You need money for your group. Fundraising is another thing, and I know maybe you can help us with that. But, legislative is another area, and having a large unified body to walk in and say, we represent 20,000 people. We represent 37,000 people, and they're just saying, well, you're just a big island.
Yeah, and that's all what we tell them, and it's just like in one ear, out the other.
And this is not only legislature. This is just what Kalani was talking about with this KAU thing.
Yeah.
This organization can put in some input into that also, hopefully. In situations like that. That's the whole point of the. This is not only a legislative committee or association. This is a grassroots kind of deal. It's so that hopefully, if we need some help here, we're going to be able to have the support from the people on Oahu and Kauai and Molokai and same with them. If they have a problem that we think is valid, we should support them. It's basically that's how I see it. It's just an organization of people.
I just got one question. I know it's getting late, but in one short order, how do you look at it to be?
What? Which one? They're
because you're asking for traditional, you're asking for
right.
customary, and I, for one, look at it as one of the biggest means. But how do you perceive it? Like, how would you see the intent on it?
Well,
what would be your suggestion?
I'm glad you asked me that question. We've had people that have been experienced doing this for 40 years, elders that have been in legislation, in the front of maybe 10 governors, that have the expertise for the information that you're seeking. And I really liked your question, because I would ask Palikapu Dedman, who had the experience all these years in front of governors' legislation, to be advisory to some of the things that you're organizing, is what I'm liking to ask all of you. Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you have somebody that's kicked 39 years of stones in the traditions, in hunting and fishing issues for 40 years? Why don't you ask people with expertise to be advisory to some of the things and initiatives that you have? One of the things that he wanted to do was home rule. There was a reason for that, because he's been to legislation, and he's been through all the things that you've been through right now. Ask him for advice. And that's my question. Why wouldn't you?
What Tony is saying,
Yeah.
join the organization.
Well, that brings me to, why wouldn't you support his litigation in the KAU fencing, is my question.
Well, we're just working on them now. That's
Okay.
what I said, and then it's one of my biggest.
So can that be on the agenda maybe next
That's
time?
what it's going to be, and we have
Okay,
the
shoot.
pen here.
That sounds good. And then hopefully you can support the idea that he's been fighting in this litigation suit not to have the fencing and eradication. So if we can be on the next agenda, that would be great. And that's all I have to
Barbara,
say.
can you make sure that gets on the agenda, please?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks, and that was it. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Okay, I have one more item.
Wait, I want to finish. One last thing with the legislature, too, is we need to clean our own house. I kind of use that analogy because we need support from our own legislatures here. I mean, we were able to fly down before our legislative session and meet and convince some Oahu legislatures to support us, and yet we could not convince some of our own legislatures here too. So I think, that's one of our biggest problems, because what happens is when you go there, that the first thing an Oahu legislature will do, like we met with Brickwood Galataria in the Senate, and he's the vice chair for Water and Land, and he was a great guy to talk to, and he was very engaged and interested. And the first thing he did was walk over to Senator Kahele's office and ask if he supported this, because he was going to support it. And we couldn't get that support. So how does that make us look? That I got somebody from Oahu willing to support what we're doing, and we can't even get our own island delegates to. So I think it's something we all need to work on, and
Well, he's not cool.
and it's not just him. I'm not singling out Senator Kaele. It's just that there's a power thing in the legislature, with who has seniority and who has, it's the whole thing. So there's certain key people that you have to get through, and if we can't do that, how do we? And that's why we came up with stuff like this, that if we can be more engaged, that we're not just hunters. So here's the hunters again. What now? The first thing that everybody that opposes what we do tells us, oh, they got 900,000 acres to hunt, and here the hunters complaining again, there's no more place for hunt. You know how hard it is just to get over that hurdle already? So I think we have a lot of work to do, and we could really use some volunteer help.
Right.
Thank you.
And this brings up another thing, and this is education. When DLNR is able to get away with this idea that we have 700,000 acres here, yet we can't take any sheep, and like you heard it tonight, and put it even on 1 acre of state land, the public needs to know what the truth is, and they're not getting the truth. And that's what an organization like this can do. They're talking about fundraising, and outreach, and these are things that you folks can help with. Anyway, with that, I'd like to move on to one more item, and we're going to close, and we're late, and I apologize for this.